It was a calm Tuesday morning in Maplewood Estates, a quiet neighborhood that always seemed too perfect to be real. The lawns were trimmed to HOA standards. The mailboxes all looked the same, and the air carried that faint scent of freshly watered grass. Everything was orderly until she arrived. Karen, her pearl-white SUV screeched to a stop right in front of the neighborhood park, just a few feet away from a bright yellow fire hydrant that gleamed under the sun. A no parking sign stood beside it like a warning beacon. But Karen, as usual, acted like it was invisible. She got out wearing her oversized sunglasses and floral blouse, slamming the door behind her. Her little dog, Sparkles, barked from the back seat. "Shush, Sparkles. Mommy just needs to drop off her HOA paperwork. They can wait 5 minutes," she muttered. 5 minutes turned into 20. Across the street, Ethan, one of the firemen who lived nearby, noticed. The SUV, he sighed. It wasn't the first time Karen had done this. Last week, she'd parked there during a block party. Before that, she left her car there while visiting the HOA president. Every time she brushed off warnings with her favorite line. "It's my neighborhood. The rules don't apply to me." Ethan decided to let it slide until that afternoon. Sirens pierced the air. Thick smoke rose from a nearby home, a kitchen fire on Cedar Lane. The fire truck blared down the street. Every second precious, but as it turned the corner, the firefighters hit a problem. Karen's SUV was blocking the hydrant. "Are you kidding me?" one firefighter yelled, slamming the door open. They couldn't waste time searching for another hydrant. The blaze was spreading fast. With practiced precision, the firefighters made their move. 2 of them ran up to Karen's car, smashed the back window, and threaded the heavy fire hose straight through it, water gushing with a roar. Karen came running from down the street, screaming, "What are you doing to my car? That's illegal!" Ethan crossed his arms, watching from his yard. "What's illegal?" he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Is parking in front of a hydrant." Karen's face went pale as the hose rattled through her back seat, drenching the leather interior. The firefighters didn't even look at her. They were too busy saving a house. That was the moment the neighborhood changed. And Karen? She was about to learn what instant justice really looked like. The next morning, Maplewood Estates was buzzing like a beehive. Neighbors stood on their lawns whispering, phones out, replaying videos of the firefighters breaking Karen's car window. The clip had already gone viral in the local Facebook group, Maplewood HOA Watchdogs. Comments were pouring in. She deserved it. Maybe next time she'll learn. Those firefighters are heroes. Karen, however, had a very different opinion. She stormed into the HOA office at 8 a.m. sharp, sunglasses hiding her puffy, furious eyes. She slammed her ruined car keys on the counter where Linda, the HOA secretary, was quietly sipping her morning coffee. "I want the firefighters fined and fired," Karen barked. "They destroyed my car for no reason." Linda blinked, calm as ever. "You parked in front of a fire hydrant, ma'am. They had to act fast." Karen leaned forward. "I'm on the HOA board. I make the rules." "Correction," said a voice from behind. It was Greg, the HOA president, a tall, no-nonsense man who'd been dealing with Karen's complaints for months. "You help enforce the rules, Karen, and one of them clearly states, no parking within 15 feet of a hydrant. You broke it." Karen's jaw tightened. "So you're taking their side?" "I'm taking the side of the law," Greg replied firmly. "You're lucky they didn't tow your car or write you a citation." Karen's voice rose an octave. "Oh, I'll do more than write a citation. I'll sue the entire fire department." That made Linda choke on her coffee. By noon, Karen had printed flyers accusing the local fire Department of Property, damage and negligent heroism. She stuck them on mailboxes, lampposts, even at the park entrance. But instead of support, she got laughter. Ethan, the firefighter who lived nearby, came home that evening to find kids pretending to spray hoses through toy cars, yelling, "Karen's car's on fire!" It became a neighborhood meme overnight. The HOA held an emergency meeting that Friday. Greg called Karen in along with several board members. "Karen," Greg began, "you've brought unnecessary attention to our community. The videos, the flyers, this isn't what Maplewood stands for." Karen crossed her arms. "Maybe Maplewood stands for bullies who don't respect authority." "Authority?" Greg raised an eyebrow. "Karen, you blocked the authority from doing their job." The room went quiet. Karen's face flushed red, but she refused to back down. "I'm not finished," she hissed. "If the HOA won't defend me, I'll make sure this neighborhood regrets it." Her tone was sharp, almost threatening. Greg leaned forward. "You're making a mistake, Karen." "Oh, I already made one," she shot back. "I trusted the HOA." Karen doubled down. If public opinion was swaying against her, she would weaponize paperwork, influence, and every petty bylaw she could find. She spent the weekend drafting complaints, calling local radio shows, and emailing the HOA's vendor list demanding the firefighters be disciplined. Her tone was theatrical, every sentence soaked in indignation. But Maplewood had already chosen a side. At Sunday's community picnic, tables were full of casseroles and gossip. Children ran through sprinklers while elders swapped stories. Ethan and his crew were local celebrities. They sat at the head table, cheeks still flushed from the morning's gratitude. People brought them homemade cookies and hand-drawn thank you notes. The town's mayor even stopped by to say a few words and call for a plaque at the park, honoring the department's quick response. Karen arrived late, clutching a stack of legal documents like battle plans. She marched up to the head table and demanded a public retraction. Half the crowd rolled their eyes. A teenager near the grill shouted, "Give it up, Karen!" which sparked a burst of laughter. Karen's face went beet red. She tried to command attention, but every attempt only made the crowd murmur more. Then something unexpected happened. Mrs. Alvarez, a quiet neighbor with a soft spot for rules and order, stood up. She walked over to Karen and, in a voice like a school teacher, correcting a pupil, read the HOA covenant aloud. It included a clause about community responsibility, a phrase the crowd had never paid much attention to until Mrs. Alvarez emphasized it. "We pay dues so our emergency services can operate without obstruction," she said. "We don't protect selfishness." A hush fell over Karen. Her arguments started to sound small in the face of genuine concern. People shared their own near misses. The time a delivery truck blocked a hydrant during a storm. The elderly couple whose apartment once nearly filled with smoke. The community's shared history became a mirror reflecting Karen's petty crusade. But Karen wasn't done. That night, she posted a rant in the neighborhood, chat accusing Greg and the board of collusion with the fire department. She attached a photo of the broken window and pleaded for donations to fight this injustice. Few gullible neighbors asked how to help. Most ignored it. A week later, the HOA delivered a formal notice. Karen had racked up fines for repeated violations, not just parking, but for defacing public notices and harassment complaints filed against neighbors. The fines were hefty. The board made sure they followed every letter of the covenants. Karen fumed, then fumed louder. When the tow truck finally came to collect the unpaid fines from her driveway, it wasn't the sight of the letters that humbled her. It was the kids. They had painted a pipeline of bright blue chalk from the fire hydrant to the street, with tiny stick-figure firefighters marching along it. "For when we need you." A week later, Maplewood Estates woke to the rumble of trucks and the hiss of sprinklers, not from the lawns this time, but from the fire department conducting a safety inspection around the neighborhood. They were testing hydrant pressure and accessibility, a routine drill that had suddenly become very relevant. Karen spotted them from her window, jaw tightening. She was still bitter about her SUV being towed, the fines stacking up, and her justice fund getting roasted online. But she wasn't ready to surrender. Not yet. She put on her sunglasses, grabbed Sparkles' leash, and marched outside, holding her phone like a weapon. "You can't just test hydrants without HOA approval," she shouted toward the firefighters. Ethan, who led the inspection team, turned with a calm smile. "We have approval from the city, ma'am. It's standard procedure after an emergency response." Karen scoffed. "You mean after you destroyed my vehicle?" The other firefighters exchanged glances, but stayed professional. Ethan kept his composure. "Ma'am, our goal is safety. Nothing more." Karen started recording. "Everyone watching online, these so-called heroes are trespassing on private HOA property." But this time, her phone didn't gather sympathy, it gathered comments from amused locals. The live stream filled with laughing emojis and lines like, "Here we go again. Karen vs. Hydrant 2, the sequel. Meanwhile, HOA President Greg and a few board members arrived on site. "Karen," he began carefully, "you might want to head home. You're violating Section 9 of our code, disruption of municipal services." "Oh, please," she snapped. "You're all in on this. The HOA, the firefighters, the—" "Push!" A sudden burst of water shot from the hydrant as part of the inspection. The pressure was so high it misted across the street, soaking Karen from head to toe. Sparkles yelped and bolted back toward the house. The firefighters froze, unsure whether to apologize or laugh. Ethan, maintaining his professionalism, called out, "Careful! Ma'am, stay clear of active hydrants!" The crowd that had gathered couldn't hold it in anymore. Laughter broke out across the block. Greg pinched the bridge of his nose, half embarrassed, half relieved. Karen stood dripping, her hair plastered to her face, clutching her phone that was now waterlogged and flickering. The live stream ended with the words, "Connection lost." Later that day, the HOA board voted unanimously to suspend Karen's privileges pending a behavioral review. She was barred from meetings for 6 months and fined one last time for interference with public safety. Personnel, Ethan and his crew, returned to the station to find cupcakes waiting, a courtesy of the neighborhood kids. On each cupcake, a tiny red hydrant was drawn in icing. And as the sun set over Maplewood Estates, the once peaceful suburb finally felt calm again. The hydrant gleamed brighter than ever, standing as a quiet symbol of order restored.